How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to showcase my Caustic Arrow Raider that I built at the start of the Forbidden Sanctum League. Now, when it comes to map clearing build, this, at least according to me, is one of the best I've ever played. It absolutely destroys maps. The coverage for clearing on it is crazy. And it doesn't have the best boss damage, but now that we have a Vaal Caustic Arrow, it actually can do okay. So here, I'm coming up on the boss of this. I'll curse them, and then I'm going to launch my Vaal Caustic Arrow, which, with Awakened Arrow Nova, shoots the projectiles in 6 directions. So, and then, yeah, that's all it took. The boss died from the Vaal Caustic Arrow. I have Toxic Rain Totems. I could swap to a more single target setup by dropping the Arrow Nova. But for just basic map bosses, you don't have to gym swap anymore to be able to kill them, because Vaal Caustic Arrow is amazing. Without Awakened Arrow Nova, Vaal Caustic Arrow is going to fire a slow-moving projectile in a straight line, and it'll go really far. So now this Caustic Ground here deals like 2.5 times the damage of my normal Caustic Arrow. So this is 346,000, Vaal Caustic Arrow's 831,000. It's insane. Plus the duration's insane as well. But, as I mentioned on the boss, Arrow Nova will launch up in the air and launch the projectiles out in multiple directions. So it's much easier to deal that extra damage running with a Arrow Nova. And Awakened Arrow Nova gives an additional projectile over the basic Arrow Nova. So we get 5 extra. You can also get additional arrows on a bow or quiver to add to that if needed. But if you would like to see the state of this build from the first 3 days, those POBs are in the video description. The first one was day 1 leveling. I only had a 5 link. The level 94, I got my 6 link. Level 100, I got all my awakened gems and stuff going. And then today I've added in a level 4 in power, and I've added in a Watcher's Eye that gives me damage over time multiplier while affected by malevolence, so that we can see if this build can actually kill bosses. So to start off, I've got increased boss life, less effective curses, maim, spell suppression, area of effects, the formed. So let's do that. Now for this, I'm going to use the single target setup. We'll see how it goes. We can't release them all at once anymore. So I'm going to try and see if I can do it with the single target. And then you can also see my Toxic Rain Totems doing work here. And then I have Withering Step that I will use from time to time to apply Wither to enemies that cause them to take increased chaos damage. Alright, I have 2 Vaal Caustic Arrows stacked up now, so I'm going to use one here. And then you can see, right, how with just the one line of Caustic Arrow, it's difficult to keep enemies on this one line, right? And now that we have all these enemies out, I'm swapping back into Arrow Nova, because then I don't have to worry as much about hitting my target. Like, I'm going to spread Caustic Arrow over this entire room, use Withering Step as much as I can, try and keep the enemies cursed even with the less curse effect, but then I can Vaal Arrow Nova in the middle of the room, and now I'm going to be doing that extra damage, like, with a lot better uptime on all these bosses, and that lasts for 10.53 seconds. All these lines of the Vaal Caustic Arrow. But you can see here, even with the investment of the Watcher's Eye, which cost me 9 exalts, and the level 4 in power, it's not the best boss damage. Like, I put the totems down, they're gonna help, but the totems also die, even though my anoint on my amulet currently is Ironwood to give them extra armor and elemental resistance to the totems. So you can't really rely on that all the time either. Get another Vaal Caustic Arrow out. So, like, the big takeaway on this build, even though we have a Vaal Caustic Arrow is good. It's a lot of extra damage, but still, Caustic Arrow is not your best bet when it comes to a bossing build. If you want to smash maps in like a minute and a half, absolutely. This build is amazing. Oh my goodness. The first time I've seen that. That's a lot of Shaper items. Oh my goodness. Okay, so it would seem to me that because of my Atlas passive tree being set up how it is with the grand design, I'm getting that pack size in my Cortex, making this pretty crazy. 75% pack size on this is wild, especially since this zone gives you 100% increased XP. Like, there's so much stuff going on in here. And it seems like the effect of the mods are guaranteed to be doubled now. It used to be a node on the passive tree to have that, like, double the effect of the mods on it. Okay, so let's do a boss that's more likely to stand still. We can kind of gauge the damage on the Caustic Arrow better. Doesn't look like we have increased life or anything really on this. Just a basic Cortex. Oh, and lots of increased area of effect. So yeah, this boss is going to stand in my Vaal Caustic Arrow. And then it just moved out. And I almost took it out already with just the one cast of the Vaal Caustic Arrow. So we'll Vaal Caustic Arrow it again. Withering Step. And it's going to last so long that I don't have to really worry about anything beyond that. But then I've used both my Vaal Caustic Arrows now. For this next boss, I'm going to have to bring out the Toxic Rain Totems for the bits of extra damage. And they will help. Because I'm scaling chaos damage over time anyways, and increased duration to get the most effect out of it. So the totems actually will do work. And then that built me up another 2 Vaal Caustic Arrows that I can use on the next one. Alright, so this one I'm going to use totems and the Vaal Caustic Arrow. And it looks like we still got to deal with this. We can do it again on this guy. Vaal Caustic Arrow. Cortex without being hit by Wormhole Slam failed. RIP. There we go. Vaal Caustic Arrow. Withering Step. You can get up to 15 Wither Stacks on an enemy, and my Withering Step puts 6 on the enemy. Or puts 7, actually. So I can use it like every 3 seconds or so. And the Withered lasts 7.1 seconds. So I can stack up 14 stacks with 2 Withering Steps. So enemies will be taking a lot of extra chaos damage if you use Wither. You got chest with increased energy shield. I've upgraded a few more things since I did those boss kills. But now I'm going to go over all of the gear and links. So starting off, I have a +3 bow. I went over the crafting process of this bow in a video 2 days ago. So if you would like to see that, that's there. Adding additional levels to socketed bow gems is how you're going to boost the damage for Caustic Arrow, because you're doing damage with the flat chaos damage per second that it shows on the tooltip here. Just under 300,000 is what I have. So in here, I have it Awaken Vicious Projectiles. Don't need quality on this because it increases physical damage. Awaken Void Manipulation. Once this gets to level 5, you get +1 Chaos Skill Gems. Level 4 Empower. You can get a level 5 Empower now, but I'm not going to try and seek that out. Awaken Swift Affliction and Awakened Arrow Nova that I swap for like anything I really want single target with slower projectiles. And that raises my damage by 30%, up to 403,000. That's got my Vaal Caustic Arrow tooltip at 968,000 before Wither, before Despair. So you can see that's adding a lot of damage. We can get that off. So then in my chest, I have a level 21 Toxic Rain linked with Ballista Totem, Awaken Vicious Projectiles, multiple totems, Awaken Void Manipulation, and Efficacy. Now, I ran for a while without Efficacy. I had faster casting or faster attacks in here. And you could also have an Empower in here to boost the levels of Toxic Rain further. It works the same way. You can get a Corrupted Chest that has increased AoE or duration or projectile gems, whatever. You can increase the levels of Toxic Rain that way. But this is just for like supplemental boss damage, just having that there. So my helmet, I have Grace, I have Withering Step, I have Clarity, and I have Malevolence. My boots, I have Blink Arrow, linked with faster attacks and faster projectiles. And I have my Despair Curse that I self-cast. And then over here, I have Enduring Cry, Endurance Charges, extra life recovery in a pinch, and Steel Skin this, if I'm bleeding and I use Steel Skin, it will remove the bleed, and it gives me a nice buffer of almost 2,000 extra damage that I can take. And then I have a Cast on Death portal. It's not technically needed, and I could have my slower projectiles in here for an easier swap. But for the time being, I have a Cast on Death portal because at this point, it doesn't matter if I die, I hit level 100. That's one of the biggest reasons I pushed to 100. And I lowered my life quite a bit to get more damage. So let's look at the gear. I've talked about the bow. My chest has life, some resistances. It's 6 linked. This is not the most efficient chest base. If I had a pure evasion one, that'd probably be better for me because I'm stacking evasion with grace and my flasks and things. But this is what I was able to get. And on here was a really important craft, a chance to avoid elemental ailments. I'll get into that more in a minute. Helmet, nothing crazy here. Life resists. Some strength, that's needed. Then the implicits I crafted on this were projectile or physical damage from hits taken as cold damage that lowers the necessity of all the armor, and reduced mana cost of attacks. So this is a huge thing because when you're pushing Caustic Arrow, I currently have it at level 29. It costs a lot. So on my ring, I have -8 total mana cost, and on amulet, and I have this 19% reduced mana cost of attacks. That's helping me a lot to sustain the mana cost, which I can still drain my mana with a level 20 clarity just using Caustic Arrow. So yeah, my amulet has +1 all chaos skill gems. You can get this Hunter influenced and get some Chaos Thought multi there as well. I also re-anointed this with Corruption, which gives increased effect of Withered that I'm applying with my Withering Step. So with the mastery that I have 55% increased effect of Withered. So that's another 3% increased damage taken per Wither. And I can get up to 14 stacks of Wither really easily. So that's a lot of extra damage there. Right here has life, some resistances. Has some evasion rating, which is cool too. This one has life, resistances. Belt has life and resistances. Crafted some extra damage. I could technically Hunter Exalt Slam this and try and get a higher tier chaos damage than the unveiled damage craft that I have here, but nothing spectacular. Same with my gloves. I got a pair of grip gloves. That's just what it had, the life and chaos res that I needed. It's also a pretty decent evasion base. But the projectile attack damage implicit that comes on these gloves does not increase the damage of the pools of caustic ground. So we went ahead and changed those implicits to Withered. You inflict expires 12% slower, and chaos damage over time multiplier. And those are both lessers. I didn't have the currency to super ball out on this. But then on the boots, life, resistances, movement speed, and then chance to avoid ailments here, 15%, and a little bit of extra movement speed there. And then I have Malevolence, increased aura effect on my chest with flask gain a charge every 3 seconds, which is kind of nice. I could have potentially re-rolled that for the +1 max res or something, but I like the idea that kind of turning this into a pseudo pathfinder, though I am a raider. And then I have my quiver that has life. It has damage over time multiplier with attack skills, and it has increased damage with bow skills. I crafted some evasion and ES on it, but the big thing is a penetrating arrow quiver. Arrows pierce an additional target. So when an arrow would have pierced a target, if it would have pierced me right here, it would have left another puddle right there, and then it still would have reached its end target. So large packs of enemies having that pierce helps you spread the caustic arrow out quite a bit. Then on my flasks here, now that I have ailment immunity from this chest and the boots, I have ailment immunity really easily on the passive tree. So I have a Quicksilver Flask with reduced effective curses. I have a Granite Flask with increased evasion. I have a Jade Flask with a chance to avoid being stunned, which stacks with this right here and stuff on the tree. And then my Stigmite Flask increases my armor as well. I could get attack speed here, but it's not as important as if I were running like a pure Toxic Raid setup. And then I'm using an Eternal Life Flask with reduced charges used. So I have 4 uses of the flask, and it removes corrupting blood. And then my Pantheon, once I got ailment immunity, I was able to remove Soul of the Bride King. Then I got Soul of Our Colleagues, reduced damage taken from damage over time, extra chaos res against damage over time, even though I already had 51% chaos res, so poison's not going to matter, desecrated ground, all that stuff, it's not going to hurt me too badly. And then my resists are fairly up enough that any curses or exposures that are going to lower my resistances shouldn't get me below my 76% max res. And then with the reduced effective curses on my Quicksilver Flask, most chances are that that's going to be up all the time. So now let's look at the Ascendancy. The first thing I got on my Ascendancy was Onslaught. Then I got Quartz Infusion for chance to suppress spell damage and phasing, so I can run through enemies and stuff. Then I got Way of the Poacher, chance to gain Frenzy Charge on kill and when you hit a rare unique enemy. So this will generate me Frenzy Charges against it during boss fights, as well as while clearing for extra damage. And then finally I got Avatar of the Chase to get increased effective onslaught, but more importantly, 10% more chance to evade attacks during onslaught. So that's a more multiplier on my evasion rating that is probably my favorite node on the Raider, as you can really juice evasion rating with this. So then passive tree, early on leveling, I pushed through projectile damage, but that eventually gets removed for better damage elsewhere by pathing through there. Strength and intelligence on Primal Spirit is the main reason I have this. Heart of Oak gives chance to avoid being stunned with life. I like the chance to avoid being stunned. Some extra bow damage with increased damage over time with bow skills here with some attack speed. Easy 2 points. Then we have Charisma with auras have increased effect on you. Get Revenge of the Hunted because this is where we can get a Grace increased mana reservation efficiency mastery. Getting this mastery along with this allows us to run all three of the auras, Clarity, Malevolence, and Grace when you factor in the Clarity mana reservation efficiency up here. I'll go back up there in a second. Then I grab Hunter's Gambit, and here I have Blink Arrow and Mirror Arrow have 100% increased cooldown rate. I toyed with this for a bit. It wasn't until after having access to this that I couldn't be without it. It lets me have insane uptime on the Blink Arrow. So that mastery is really cool. Just a quality of life thing. And then after I got that, I pushed out, you get Wasting, you get Chaos Rest here, Chaos Dot Multi, increase, here's the other 20% increased effective Wither that I mentioned. Push up here for Blood Siphon. Not only is it life, it's strength. And then Entropy has damage over time and skill effect duration. Fangs of the Viper has chaos damage, movement speed, dex. So then I grab all of the suppressed spell damage here. This, with being a Raider and pathing down through these nodes, has me at 97% spell suppression, though I have another 10 when I'm on full life. So if I'm on full life, I have 107% spell suppression, but it's not 100% perfect. It's like one passive right here from being spell suppression capped, but it's pretty solid. Got Blood Drinker for the life, recover 2% of life on kill. I actually dropped the 50% life here to get this bow mastery for the Blink Arrow. Then I came in here, grabbed a Jewel Socket. This has a Forbidden Flesh in it, allocating Nature's Reprisal if you have the matching Forbidden Flame, which I do. Got an extra Frenzy Charge. I'll look at that here in just a second. Here, Minddrinker recovers mana on kill and Clarity mana reservation efficiency. We have to level Clarity up because it gives us that flat mana regen to help cover the cost of the skills. Like if I didn't have the crafts for minus mana cost or reduced mana cost of attacks, it would be really dicey on my mana consumption, and I don't want to run a mana flask. I want the physical damage reduction, the movement speed, and evasion. So then pushing up here, I didn't do it this time. Like a week ago, I uploaded a video going over a standard build I had, how full cluster jewels set up. I think you would probably drop a lot of this up here in order to work in cluster jewels, but I didn't do that, so we pushed up here. Atrophy, you get skill effect duration, which helps Toxic Rain and increases the duration of the Vaal Caustic Arrow or anything else. And then I have 1% Chaos Dot Multi per 4% Chaos Resistance. I have 51, so that's like 12% Dot Multi there. And then we can push down here. This is not only extra strength, but life. And grabbing Growth and Decay, this is all extra Dot Multi. And there's a 15% skill effect duration mastery here. If you really need the life regeneration, you could take it and save a point to get to Growth and Decay. This is a nice little portion of life regeneration that we really don't have anywhere else. And I never got enough Energy Shield on any of my gear to warrant specking into Ghost Dance. Then the other side of the tree, pushed over here. Here I have a Watcher's Eye, Dot Multi while affected by Malevolence, and I'm gaining 6% of my max mana as extra max ES while affected by Clarity. That is giving me like 97 Energy Shield. It wasn't super necessary, but I spent a couple extra divines to get a double useful Watcher's Eye that had a max roll on Malevolence. Pushing down here, like I mentioned, this is spell suppression, extra evasion stuff. We get the skill effect duration here, more skill effect duration on the mastery. Grab Profane Chemistry, increased life recovery from flasks, increases the effect of my Eternal Life Flask here. So like I can almost recover my entire life pool with one flask press, whereas on a Divine Life Flask you it might be instant, but you have to press it multiple times, and there's life there as well. Which down here is my Forbidden Flame, giving me Nature's Reprisal from the Pathfinder. Now, a lot of people have said rather than playing a Raider, they're going Pathfinder on this, because not only do you get Nature's Reprisal, there's extra Flask buff effect, and now Flask buff effect scales the onslaught of a Silver Flask, but I don't have to run a Silver Flask. I have the Onslaught, and then I can use these jewels. The Forbidden Flame cost me 3 divines, and the other one cost me 1. So it was 4 divines to get 15% more chaos damage and 30% increased area of effect from Nature's Reprisal off the Pathfinder tree. And I'm also regenerating Flask charges. So if that's the reason you're running Pathfinder, Raider guarantees you Frenzy charges phasing, and you have much easier chance at getting spell suppression than you do on Pathfinder. But then further pushing down here, you grab Avatar the Hunt. Not only is this extra evasion on this, but you get damage over time with bow skills. This mastery, I have 20% increased area of effect while building a bow. It's kind of over the top, but then when we push over here, we grab all of these passives and have Corrupting Blood cannot be inflicted on me here. I don't really need that because of my life flask, but I don't like dealing with it at all. And then we get the max res and then the ailment immunity. We get the last little bit of ailment immunity from Thick Skin down here. And I also have the mastery causing nearby enemies to have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. When you're doing a dot build, it's really nice to have the reduced life regeneration, because a lot of times, like stand on consecrated ground, or if they have a lot of recovery, it's really hurting your damage over time because they're regenerating that HP. But this 12% chance to avoid ailments plus this 50 plus this 15 plus this 25 puts me at 102 chance to avoid ailments. Good stuff. Not all ailments though, because this 20% is just shock. This is chill and frozen. This is ignite. So I only have an 80% chance to avoid sapped, scorch, and brittle. So not 100% perfect. I have the strength node here because I still needed it. After dropping constitution, I pulled these 5 points out to get these 5 points right here. Now I'm level 100. It doesn't matter if I die. I wanted more damage. So I got all these nodes and then bought a bunch of fertile catalysts and catalyst everything up, losing constitution in the process. And then one of my favorite parts about playing a Raider are these nodes here. So these nodes are going to increase the effect of Onslaught, which we have permanently, even further. But the big thing here is this gaining 5% of evasion rating as extra armor. Now I love this node, especially playing a Raider, because we're stacking so much evasion rating. And like I mentioned, my gear isn't super evasion rating. I have armor and evasion chest, but just sitting here in my hideout defensively, I have 28,000 evasion rating before flasks. With all my flasks up, 50,000 evasion rating, 94% chance to evade attacks, and that pushes me up to 56% physical damage reduction from armor. But I don't have any armor aside from the little bit on this helmet and this chest. The evasion rating as extra armor is giving me 32% physical damage reduction, like after all that armor. So that is what this is doing on a Raider specifically, because we're getting that more multiplier from evasion, we're getting the more multiplier off the Stibnite flask, plus the extra flat from the Jade flask, and it could be pushed further with the proper bases on everything. But I'm pretty happy with a 94% chance to evade and like 59% estimated physical damage reduction. It's pretty solid, and that's before endurance charges where I to do enduring cry. I think I covered everything. I think I forgot to mention the minor mastery here. I'm running Soul of Aberath currently, so I'm unaffected by burning ground, and I have movement speed while I'm burning ground. Rare enemies and things that leave burning ground, it seems to do a lot of damage, and I don't have life or regen, so I didn't want to deal with that. Another option here is Soul of Rislatha to gain the life flask charges, and Garrulus Will Thief gives you enemies you've hit recently have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. So with the life mastery, you can get 100% reduced life regeneration rate from there. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's talk about maps. So there are 3 map mods that I do not personally like to run. On this one, it's not the minus max. I really don't care. Most things are going to die before they hit me anyways. It's hexproof. Hexproof enemies I can't curse with my despair, and they can have a lot of extra chaos resistance. I like lowering the chaos res, and things can get way tanky once you remove the ability to curse them. The other thing I don't run, players have 60% reduced effect of non-curse auras from skills. This lowers the effect of my clarity by 60%, and then I struggle to sustain the mana, even with everything that I've got. So I don't run that mod, and then I do not run players cannot regenerate life, mana, or energy shield. Those are the 3 things I don't run. Phys Reflect, fine. Ellie reflect, fine. Minus max, fine. Maximum life is extra, max E. Energy shield doesn't matter. We do chaos damage, bypasses all energy shield. Simple stuff. Less recovery rate of life and energy shield, it's okay. Less armor, reduced chance to block, doesn't matter. The reduced damage of suppressed spell damage kind of sucks, but really doesn't matter that much either. And I'm gonna throw this map in. We're clear one more map real quick while I wrap things up here. So I can clear this map really quickly. I have such coverage getting the extra area of effect from the Pathfinder, from the Forbidden Jewels. I was surprised to see they were so cheap, so I spent a little extra time to make sure I could get those last 4 divines and polish things off. But this is going to be the end of my run in Trade League. Now, I did this character because I have a group of guys that kind of are relying on me to help chip in for the pure breach stones to push to 100. Not only the host, but others in the group that run with the same guy that helps us all push to 100. So I would have been letting them down because they actually rely on me a lot, because I farm a lot of currency early on the first couple days, and I throw a lot of currency at making sure that we can get that 100 push in early. Now, normally I'm trying to push for rank 1 Raider. A member of Havoc's push group wound up getting rank 1, and I got rank 2 Raider, but this was the fastest 100 push I have ever done this league. I got 43rd overall from this, and the website, I tried to update this, so this is missing my toxic rain here. This was the state of my gear when I got to 100, the same as in yesterday's video. I was trying to get it to show up my Vaal Caustic Arrow on the skill here, but it shows blink arrow because the website doesn't know how to recognize the Vaal Caustic Arrow. As you can see here, it's not a skill I can select either. So it says I was playing blink arrow, but I wasn't. So I wanted to get this character not only to help my early leveling push group out, but in case I want to come back and do challenges, because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play Ruthless mode, and then we're gonna let the Vaal Caustic Arrow kind of remove these enemies from existence. Like so. So like bossing, like normal maps clear, this build is fantastic. You can manage the bosses in-game. I don't think you're doing Ubers on this build unless you have some godlike mechanics. But that is the build. It's one of the most fun builds I have ever played because I love having the speed. I love being able to cover this much area in a crazy amount of degen. And as always, Path of Buildings linked down below for all 4 days that I progressed on this character. But at the same time, too, it took me 4 days to make a character that more casual players probably will never see in a 3-month league. And that's one of the biggest reasons I don't like playing Trade League, because 1, I have to sit in my hideout and trade all the time, and 2, like, I create things that just aren't achievable by the casual player base, which I'm trying to, like, create builds for and recommend you play this. But a lot of people will see this, oh, you have a level 4 in power, all these awakened gems and stuff. It's like, yeah, that took me 3 days, 4 days. So yeah, we're on to Ruthless to see how that journey will go. Hope you are interested in joining me along on that. But that's all I've got for today. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss more videos from me. If you'd like to help support my channel, please consider using the super thanks, the heart icon just below the video, or by joining to become a member. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.